Hey, this is Greg Johnson with Blue Book Services, and this is Week in Review. I'm joined by retail editor Pamela Schneider. We have a couple items to talk about. I want to start off with some counterintuitive, maybe, retail news. We keep hearing about consolidation, but this week we had a couple different stories about chains that are deciding against that. One of which is UNFI, and they had a quarterly report come out this week, and they had an outstanding third quarter, which just ended. As you can imagine, sales were higher than third quarter last year. And they announced, not at the top of their story, of course, that they are not going to sell Cub Foods as they've talked about for the past year. What do you think's behind that one, Pamela?
It does not surprise me at all. I mean, they've been shopping Cub Foods out even before SuperValue was acquired by UNFI. They were looking for a buyer, and we kicked around a few ideas of who could do it. But right now, I mean, retail real estate is making money. And if UNFI, they've had a couple of so-so to not so great quarters. It would be foolish right now, I think, for them. They wouldn't be able to put a price on Cub Foods that would outweigh what they're making off of them right now. So right now, shoot, I would cancel it too. It's the height of the market for retail, at least for bringing in money. And I would wait until at least it slows down if you were really still committed to selling. So it doesn't surprise me at all.
They've been in the news a lot the past couple of years, so we've followed a lot of what they've done. We know a little bit less about the other non-merger this week. Stop and Shop had been rumored, well, not rumored, they agreed to acquire King Cullen, which is a chain based in Long Island. And they called that off this week. Both CEOs said in a release that it has to do with the economic and pandemic situation. What's your take on that?
Well, it seems like if King Cullen was making enough money on its own, it didn't want to be acquired anymore. So the owners of King Cullen are like, well, let's milk this cow for a little bit more and see what else we can get out of it. It's not like we haven't seen retail development in Long Island over the last couple of years. We saw Lidl go in there and acquire some Best supermarkets, so they're actually growing there. It's a competitive market, and so it doesn't surprise me that a chain that maybe wasn't doing so great financially was looking to be acquired, and right now they're like, yeah, never mind. Not surprising at all.
All right, well, let's shift gears. One of the things that we've talked about for at least a month, almost every week, is the food box program. And we keep, almost every week, I hear both good and bad stories about it. There are a lot of people getting fed, and there are a lot of companies that maybe shouldn't have gotten bids. And one of the, we don't have a whole lot of updates this week, but 10 U.S. senators from the Democratic side decided to send a rather terse letter to the Secretary of Agriculture this week, just questioning the process. Really, the questions are very similar to what was in the series of questions that United gave almost a month ago. You saw that. What do you think? And of course, in San Antonio, right next door to where you are, you keep following the wedding planners' exploits with the program.
The San Antonio Express News, again, I have just subscribed to news alerts from them regarding Create a Date, because they are not letting that go. And Create a Date has actually lashed out on social media about being attacked by the media. But it's some valid questions, because there are food banks in my region, and then they're supposed to be delivering to food banks all across the Southwest. And there's still only a couple thousand boxes into this program. Meanwhile, when we talk about success stories and organizations that are just hit the ground running, like CNC Produce in Kansas City, we keep coming back to them, but I mean, they hit the ground running the day that they could with tens of thousands of boxes a week, and just they're going to finish up early. Damari Fresh in Dallas says it's going to finish up its obligation early. And meanwhile, there are food banks that are supposed to be serviced by Create a Date that aren't getting anything. So the 10 Democratic senators, I took a look at their letter, and they bring up some valid points. Who was in on this contract process? And some of their points, like you said, they're very similar to what we've seen from other areas of the industry. but some of them also need to be brought up for accountability for the next, contract period of, we can't have $40 million go to a company whose annual sales are only $2 million. But it's foolish. It doesn't make sense for someone to have to then subcontract this out. And then another thing that they brought up that I thought was really interesting was, how much input did the food banks have on this, on what they actually needed? Because, yay, you can roll up with a truck like Create a Date has in San Antonio, unexpected, and drop off half a truckload of whatever, and it's, this needs to be strategic. They're spending $1.2 billion, up to $3 billion by the end of the year. It needs to be strategic and match what the farmers need to move through the system and what the food banks need to receive in the system.
Well, they were supposed to have made agreements and partnerships with food banks. For instance, when I talked to Pacific Fruit in Portland, who partnered with Charlie's of Seattle, they had more than half a dozen food and charity organizations that they are already signed up and agreed to work with, both in the Portland and Seattle metro areas and throughout those two states. So, I mean, it sounds like that was the way it was supposed to be, not just showing up at a food bank with boxes.
Yeah, and this is what is happening. They even talked to, here in Austin, they talked to the food bank here, and the food bank here has not heard at all from the Create a Date organization. And so they're kind of left hanging and being fulfilled by box programs in other regions and other areas to be able to get some of this food in and out of their facilities. So while I would say the majority of the money is going to where it needs to go and people are getting fed, there are still some of the largest contracts that got awarded are just question marks, too many question marks.
There certainly are, and the next bid process, it's supposed to be all finished by the end of this month and start the new one on July 1st. It definitely should be tighter and better based on what both the industry is learning and hopefully USDA is hearing from the industry.
All right, yeah, for sure.
Well, speaking of what's going on this month, next week we have a rare occasion in the produce industry. A whole industry is going to try something new for the first time. It is the first virtual trade show based on United Fresh having to not hold their in-person trade show in San Diego, which is a bummer because that's a great place to go.
Yeah.
We're going to try a virtual trade show, and this week I did an interview like this with Mary Coppola, who's the marketing director at Marketing and Communications for United Fresh. And what I really wanted to get was what the industry can expect from the experience. And I thought she gave us some really good things on there. What did you think about what she said and your anticipation of the event next week?
Well, as I was editing the video, I noticed something that really stood out to me that I've, how long have we been Zooming? I mean, everyone else is like, Johnny come latelys with the Zoom, because we've been doing this for 2 years now almost. And what she had said was that people need to be prepared to be present, because we're losing that face-to-face communication in person, the physical face-to-face. But you don't have to lose the virtual face-to-face. So get over it and turn your camera on. I mean, she said it a lot nicer than I did. Yeah. But I mean, not everyone is photogenic, and we totally understand. Everyone may have like a cluttered office in the background and people opening the door while you're trying to work and dogs running around like this.
Did you get one in there?
Yeah, he just gave in. So, this is what makes it human, and this is what makes it personal. And I literally didn't plan this, but I think everyone has gotten used to this virtual face-to-face and are way more comfortable with it than they would have been before. And it is better than a phone call, especially when you are one-on-one. So this brings back that one-on-one, person-to-person communication that the produce industry is known for. And if you're hiding behind just your name on the little thing on Zoom or whatever platform they're going to use it on, I mean, we both attend the town halls for PMA. Do you look and see who else is there and see their faces? I do. And yeah. I'm bummed when I see just like a name, or if I see somebody put a picture up there instead of themselves. This is not the time to do that. This is not the time to hide behind some stock art. This is the time to actually face-to-face communicate.
Yeah, you have to try to treat it as much as you can as the real thing. And that means seeing people and being able to interact and have conversations. Absolutely. And it's going to be a real shock for most people that they're going to have to comb their hair every day for a whole week and maybe even shave more than once. It's going to be rough because someone's going to see you from outside your house, someone professional.
And you know what? If you've got a cluttered background, I'm always a big fan. If your background is too much for everyone, just to switch it up, right? I mean,
of course.
This is the fixer. If your kids are running around behind you, just put your virtual background. If you're a retailer, hey, this is Sprouts Farmers Market. Go get a picture of your produce department. Just make sure you got enough light on your face. If it has that capability, I mean, it's all in what you make of it. I think I'm excited to see how the booth process works, and how that, walking the trade show floor virtually. I'm excited to see how this works. The education sessions, I assume, are going to run just like a lot of the other meetings that we've been seeing, the webinars and whatnot. But I do hope that there is a face-to-face opportunity, because those of us who may be extroverts are kind of like twitching in our offices, waiting to actually see some people, because I haven't seen anyone in so long, that I'm kind of crawling up the walls here. So I think it's going to be interesting, and I think really it's the litmus test for industry organizations considering it. And I think you have to have a certain scale to be able. You got somebody too.
You couldn't see them though.
No, I couldn't until you gave it away. But I think that there's enough interest from the associations, the buying groups, that all of these trade shows that we miss, because we talk about the big ones, we all go to the big ones, but there's also countless wholesaler trade shows and showcases on a lot of these things that happen in the industry that aren't happening right now, that people are wondering if this is going to work. So a lot of attendance is going to be watching. No pressure, United, but it's going to be an exciting week.
Yeah, I think they know the pressure's on, but at the same time, the timing is really great. I mean, the whole industry is talking about it, and I think they said over 200 exhibitors are signed up for the virtual exhibit hall. So it'll be a real interesting experience, and hopefully a successful one where we get a lot out of it.
All right, well, that's it for the Produce Reporter Week in review. I got one more day of vacation left, so I'm going back to it.
I didn't think you were going to tell our viewers that you were on vacation.
Yeah, I've been at the pool all morning. I like you when I come back from my vacation just to record a video with you. All right, if you're not receiving the Produce Reporter newsletter, go to producebluebook.com and sign up. See you later. And
today is the first day the PGA Tour is back.
Oh, hey, I mean, that's pretty social distance sport. Oh, I can't see. Yeah, you got to get it in front of you so you can see it. I don't have any props. I still got this avocado guy. That's all I got.
No. Well, it's right down the street from you. It's in Dallas, Fort Worth.
Fort Worth. Oh, I mean, that might as well be Mars. I'm not going anywhere.
Back to the pool.
Right.